the perfect Indiana Saturday for a rivalry renewed. 15 years since the last meeting between Ball State and Purdue.
Back in the Betsy M. Ross SportsLink studios for episode 2 of the Cardinal Kickoff. I'm Roen Elbert, that's Sam Klug, and we have a lot on hand for what should be a great episode talking about Ball State football.
That's right, recapping obviously week 1, Ball State headed to West Lafayette for their first matchup of the year, and then we take a look at the SEC matchup coming up this week down in Alabama.
Yeah, speaking of that Purdue matchup, last Saturday, a 31-0 Purdue win over the Ball State Cardinals. I mean, you look at some of the stats. Kyle Kelly, quarterback of the Cardinals, went 10 for 16, had 87 passing yards. Then you also look at the total yards. Purdue had 433 total offensive yards. Ball State, on the other hand, 203. So, Sam, I have to ask the question, what in your eyes went wrong?
I mean, yeah, overall, Ball State, their ground game just not the best for this week. They only amassed 116 total yards on the ground across 4 different players, but also it didn't help when your passing game just wasn't there. Kyle only threw 16 passing attempts, like you just mentioned, and only threw for 87 yards. When you have both sides of your offense just not working, it's not going to amount to a lot of total offensive yards and a win in the end.
Yeah, we could dwell on the negatives all we want, but how about some positive? What on your end, what were some of the bright spots about this Cardinal performance?
Yeah, one of the biggest bright spots that I saw from this offense especially is no turnovers. Ball security was a high priority, definitely in camp and in practice leading up. There was 53,000 people at this game, so the atmosphere was very hostile and not in the favor of the Cardinals. So that they were able to secure the ball, not make any silly mental mistakes as well, was super important, especially for a new team under a new head coach. And we don't really know what we were going to get from them, but no turnovers is definitely a bright spot for this team.
Oh, for sure. And you mentioned a hostile crowd. It's not going to get better this week against Auburn, especially their home opener, and it's a night game.
Especially, yes, for sure. Auburn looking like they want success this year, year 3 under Hugh Freeze. Obviously, big win over Baylor, a Big 12 opponent. It's going to be a good matchup for the Cardinals to test them early in this season.
Yeah, and for more of a recap on last week's performance and a preview of next week, it's head coach Mike Uremovich.
Obviously disappointed at the result Saturday, but, you got to look at it objectively as a coach and, play by play and see where we can improve and things we did well. And there's a lot of positives. We didn't turn the football over, which is something we emphasize a lot, and that's good in the first game of the year to get through special teams clean and have no offensive turnovers. I thought our front 7 did a good job against the run, held them on 100 yards rushing, and we outrushed them offensively. Obviously, in the back end, we got some things we got to clean up, and then the pass game wasn't as good as we wanted it to be, but we were forced to throw the ball a lot of times in third, and we averaged 3rd and 7+, basically, was at our average third down conversion. So you're not going to turn over a high rate of those. But guys were good yesterday. We got to get ready for Auburn now. It's another good challenge. They got a big-time quarterback who can throw it and run it. He's a dual-threat kid, very talented, and then defensively they run really well. They're long, they're physical. The coordinator does a really good job on defense and special teams. They obviously have really good athletes on all those units, so it'll be a good challenge for us.
How do you evaluate Kyle Kelly's performance in the first game?
I thought he played hard. I thought he made a lot of plays. I'm sure if you asked him that, he'll tell you that there's a few things he wish he did better, but I hope he says that every game because there's always stuff we can get better at. There's a lot of emphasis on the quarterback, and there should be. But he can't throw it if the guys aren't open, and he can't get the ball out if he's not getting protected. And then the other side of it is if they are protecting him, he's got to make the throws. But, you saw what he can do at some of those plays that were pretty dynamic. He did with his feet, and we got to get better at some things across the board offensively. He's no different.
I guess how do you feel the locker room was able to, I know you met with him yesterday. How do you think they're able to move on from that Purdue loss and get ready for Auburn?
They're good. Whether we won the game, they need to move on too. We've been, since I got here in December, but really since January, you guys are going to hear me say this all year long. It's a 1-week season. It really is. and that one's over. And if we won 33-0 or 31-0, I'd be telling them the same thing on Sunday, that we got to get ready for Auburn. So we have to get that mentality, and I feel like they had it yesterday. The challenge is to have that mentality for 12 weeks, and that's something we got to help them with as coaches, and that's something that they have to do as players as well. But it is a one-week season. Every week's different.
We are back in the BetCM Ross SportsLink studios. Now, Sam, let's take a look at these Auburn Tigers, starting with head coach Hugh Freeze, who has had stints at Ole Miss and Liberty. But the past 3 seasons with Auburn, it's been up and down. Last year, they were 5-7. Of course, a big win over Baylor the other day, 38-24. Baylor, a team with high expectations. Auburn got it done on the road. Just what stood out to you about the Tigers?
I mean, yeah, a lot of it did, especially their defense. They really stopped Baylor on the ground, held them to only 64 rushing yards. When your defense can do any of that versus Power 4 or Power 5, whatever we want to call it these days, when you can do that to a Power 4 conference team, especially when college football a lot of times is built on the ground game, that's extremely impressive. And it just shows that their defense was very ready. They were prepared, and yeah, Coach Freeze definitely prepared them for the matchup.
You mentioned stopping the run. A big part of that is Keldrick Falk, a guy who is projected at this point to be a top 5 draft pick. How did the Cardinals stop him?
Yeah, well, first is just don't run toward his side. I mean, it's easier said than done, but maybe just don't engage with him. But also something that I think the Cardinals can really use to their advantage is just be evasive and unpredictable, especially with Kyle Kelly. He's a guy that I would like to consider dual threat. He can throw the ball. We've seen that in the past, and he can run with his feet. Obviously, he was the Cardinals' leading rusher in Week 1 versus Purdue. So if they get him involved, whether that's just trying to be unpredictable, sometimes running him and then faking like they're going to run it, but maybe throw the ball. That's another way that can, I think, throw off the defense. And going back to, like we said before, another hostile environment where they're going to need to be, everybody's going to need to be on the same page and, just be evasive, especially with all their weapons on offense.
I mean, hey, you mentioned it, hostile environment. We all know that. I mean, when you go into a place like Auburn, you feel like it's you and your guys against the world. So on that note, what's it going to take for Ball State to shock the world?
It's going to take being unpredictable. We touched on it before, obviously, especially having a dual threat quarterback in Kyle Kelly, but also stopping the unpredictable offense on the Tigers side. They also have a very good dual threat quarterback in Jackson Arnold. He leads the team currently in passing yards and rushing yards right now. He rushed for 137 in Week 1 versus Baylor. So that's not an easy task to stop them, but that's something that the Cardinals are definitely going to look at and need to hone in when they look at film this week.
And speaking of a player that we're expecting to do great things next week, Ashton Whitner. He spoke to the media on Monday.
Obviously, first year in the program, what's it been like adjusting to this Ball State culture?
It's been pretty good. We had a lot of fans there on Saturday. Just everything's been good though.
Drives.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, after every drive, we came to the sideline, we made adjustments, and just came back and fixed it from there on out. We just gotta continue to keep our eyes right and have our D-line contain the quarterback, and I think we'll be good for Saturday.
And then obviously going against Kyle Kelly in practice, I guess, how much does that help you get used to that running ability?
It's been pretty good. Kyle is a very athletic quarterback, and like you said, with him practicing against him every day, that definitely helps us a lot. And even though our scout team QBs, they help us a lot with with running quarterbacks and things like that. So I think we'll be good for containing the running quarterback this week.
What's it like from a preparation standpoint, knowing you're going into a pretty big hostile environment?
I think a lot of our guys on our defense have played in big games like this before, so I think everyone's well prepared. We just played a Big Ten game last week, so I think coming into an SEC environment this week, we'll be good and prepared for the game.
We're back from the BetCM Ross SportsLink studios. I'm Roen Elbert, joined by Sam Klug. Joining us, our guest analyst today, Caden Vincent. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Roen. Can't wait to talk some Ball State football. Great to be here today.
Yeah, and first off, just what were your thoughts on the game? I mean, obviously a 31-0 Purdue win. Some positives for the Cardinals. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of Ball State, their offense really started slow, and in that second quarter and really in that second half, they were able to move the ball a lot more efficiently downfield. Of course, Kyle Kelly did a good job of running the ball. I think one thing is his passing ability has got to get better. Either he's got to read it a lot more quicker in the pocket, or he's got to get outside and scramble more. He was really successful when he was able to get outside and move the ball down, and that allowed the Cardinals to get inside Purdue's territory.
I like what you were saying there, and like you said, he's just got to do more of that. He's got to be more evasive. He's got to be more unpredictable as well. Being unpredictable is actually one of my keys for this upcoming week, like we've talked about before. But the more unpredictable you can be, I think, and more dual threat ability he uses, then he's going to be a scarier quarterback.
Oh, yeah, indeed. But this Auburn team, we already know it's going to be a challenge, especially after that 38-24 win over Baylor. The Baylor Bears, that's the team that has high expectations. So for Auburn to get that win, that's huge.
Yeah, especially going into Baylor and getting a road win in a game that they really dominated from the start. Obviously, you look at the score being at halftime at 17-10, but that doesn't even tell the story. Jackson Arnold, just 11 for 17 through the air. He had success, but it was really the ground game for Auburn. Of course, Jackson Arnold leading the rushing with 16 carries for 137 yards and 2 massive touchdowns, both late in the third, both on third down conversions. But also, Damari Alston also had a massive game as well. So Ball State has got to be able to take advantage on the defensive side and stop the Auburn running game.
I agree. And that's another key, especially for this Ball State defense that I actually think played pretty well, especially playing a Power 5 opponent or Power 4, whatever you want to say these days. In Purdue, holding them to 31 points, it's not pretty on paper, but I do think they did a good job of stopping that run game from the Boilermaker side, and they're going to have to repeat that here, especially in a road environment in the SEC, down south. It's going to be hot. It's going to be a hard game to play, but yeah, they got to stop that ground game.
Absolutely, and you make a good point there is that Baylor also had a really great air attack. Sawyer Robertson, 27 for 48, 419 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. So Ball State, if Kyle Kelly could get some success through the air, Ball State could lead to some really great drives headed down the field for the Cards.
Yeah, and speaking of quarterbacks, how about Jackson Arnold? We went in depth about this earlier. Really good mobile rushing quarterback. With this defense, I mean, they've played probably in scout games, practice, whatever, against Kyle Kelly, another very mobile quarterback. I wonder how much that'll help them in this situation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you look at it, two kind of very similar quarterbacks on paper, both very elusive, both great once they get outside the pocket and into that secondary and into that deep defense. But I think for Ball State especially, Kyle Kelly's got a little bit more speed. He's got to use that agility against the Auburn secondary because he's able to explode. Once he's able to explode outside, it's tough to stop.
Yeah, and another thing is also 2 quarterbacks that have been around college football for some time. Jackson Arnold obviously transferred in from Oklahoma, and he's originally from Texas, where, you know, high school football is huge. And obviously Kyle is here in his final season at Ball State, but he's been around the league. He knows the MAC. He knows college football well. So 2 veteran quarterbacks, and it's going to be an exciting show.
Yeah, you mentioned Arnold from Texas. Kyle Kelly, also a big football state in Florida. So both 2 veteran quarterbacks have felt that big experience. And Kyle Kelly's played in some big-time games as well. So this is nothing new to him. It's just keeping the pressure low and being able to drive the Cardinals down the field against Auburn.
Big-time games indeed. He's got a big one this Saturday. Finally, Caden, what will it take for Ball State to shock the world?
You know, I think the biggest thing for Ball State is they've got to use their passing to their advantage here. We know last week Baylor was able to torch the Auburn defense and the secondary for 400-plus yards. Ball State's got to be able to take advantage early in the game to get that passing game going, get some momentum, and really be able to silence that Auburn crowd, which we know one of the best atmospheres in all of college football. That's not even just the SEC. All of college football. So Ball State's got to be able to take the momentum early and often and continue it throughout the rest of the game.
I like that take a lot. Being unpredictable and attacking first is huge, especially for this Ball State offense that, you know, their first 3 drives or so in that game against Purdue, 3 and outs, they had to punt it right away. So just finding that consistency early and gaining confidence as well, because after not putting up any points, I think confidence is going to be huge for this offense, especially versus such a big team like Auburn.
Yeah, and Sam, you made a great note is that they did go 3 and out those first 3 drives, and they really could not move the ball at all, and it was a lot of negative yardage. Once Kyle Kelly got comfortable and was able to use his speed, that was kind of the key factor in Ball State, is being able to get down the field and utilize that offensive playbook a lot more. And I think that's something that Coach U's definitely going to be looking forward to in the next game against Auburn, and then throughout the rest of the season, is how elaborate and how kind of he can get that offense going from the start.
Right. Another point I think that we should make is that it might take this offense sometimes to get comfortable.
Yeah.
New coach, tons of new players. And also another comment, there's only one player who's on their MAC championship team who's still here, Keon Magwood. So it's been a lot of turnover, especially in the past few years. So, it's going to be some time for this team to get comfortable with each other. Yeah. Find that consistency, even in little things such as getting first downs.
Oh, yeah, it's going to take longer than just the first week. A lot of new faces on this team. I mean, same goes for the opponent last week in Purdue. It's going to take time to gel. But, Caden, thank you so much for joining us.
I enjoyed every second of it, and I really appreciate you having me on for this, Roen.
And for more, we go to Ball State running back Quay Ashley, who talks about the upcoming matchup against Auburn.
It felt pretty good to be playing football again, in front of fans. I was excited to be out there with my brothers for the first time. I felt pretty good. I'm excited about this upcoming season. At times, it wasn't going our way, so I always pride myself on being the one to try to get the team going. So I felt that when things were going bad, I had to be the one to try and make a play, and that play the O-line did, that everyone did their job, and we got pretty good yardage out of it and had a good drive. It's just mainly we got to fix ourselves, small things that we control, such as effort and assignments. Basically when we go fix that, we'll be pretty good this week. That we doesn't quit. Everyone still fights until the end. Coach U kind of harped on that when I first got here, and I feel like everyone lived up to that the last game, and I feel like as the season goes on, we won't quit, and we'll be pretty good.
We are back with more Cardinal Kickoff. I'm Roen Elbert. That's Sam Klug. And it's such a big matchup this week. Who are some players that you're expecting to do big things for the Cardinals?
Obviously, the Cardinals are going to need big play from their quarterback in Kyle Kelly. We've touched on it multiple times here in this episode, but they're going to need big play from him. But also on the defensive side, Nathan Voris had a really good week 1, especially on the road. He had four total tackles, 3 solo. He had recorded a sack and a tackle for loss. So continuing to step up on that defensive line and perform at a high level is something they're going to need on the road at the SEC at Auburn.
And not to think too far ahead, but next week, we're back at the Shoe. We're back home taking on New Hampshire, an FCS opponent. It's hard not to get too excited about that and focus on Auburn right now.
It is, especially when it's your home opener, new head coach in about a decade. So your first home opener with a new coach in about a decade is something that probably a lot of fans, especially local Muncie fans, are super excited for. And it's family weekend, so you're going to see a lot of players with their families, even students too. So it's a big week for a lot of people. And like you said, New Hampshire FCS school went 8-5 last year, so a very respectable opponent with that winning record. They started the year 1-0 already with a win over North Carolina Central in week 1. So, like you said, don't want to look too far ahead, but it'll be a quality opponent, a team that knows how to win, and a team that's going to come ready to play and want to get a big win over an FBS opponent.
It should be a fun matchup indeed, but that's it for me, Roen Elbert, and Sam Klug. This week, the Cardinals take on the Tigers. Next week, New Hampshire. And that's it for Cardinal Kickoff. We'll see you next week. The Cardinal Kickoff is a Ball State Sports Link production.